Hey YouTube, how you doing? It's James Baker here. I think I'm live, and I'm ready for the Ask Me Anything to answer all your questions. I know I have been doing this in Zoom and then posting it later, but I figured why not go to the source and why not start posting it now? So um, bear with me. I've been really struggling to get this all set up as my first actual live on YouTube. Not my first live in this context, and I'm going to pull up all of the questions I have now, and so that we can, so I can give you guys some answers to your questions. Because really what's been happening is you send questions to me or my team, and you're just a person inquiring. I want to answer some of your questions, so we assemble a lot of them, and then I answer them in these meetings. Okay, so let me just let everyone know I'm live. Okay. So I'm still live. We're all still here. There are 4 people here. There's 1 thumbs up. So I got some people here. So I'm going to go through some of these questions now, and we'll just get into it. So the first question: Hi James, I have a question regarding a tax treaty between the U.S. and Latvia. Easy one right off the start. Do the members of a single member LLC formed in the U.S. pay taxes in Latvia or the U.S.? Based on what I understand, the U.S. based LLC is a tax resident in the USA. Would that mean I'm only paying personal income taxes in Latvia? So if you are a foreign person and you live in Latvia and you have a U.S. LLC, you can't use the tax treaty between the U.S. and Latvia, at least from the U.S. tax perspective, because you're not really a U.S. taxpayer. You're not paying any taxes in the U.S. You can't really use the tax treaty. You would only pay taxes in your home country based on your home country tax laws. You wouldn't pay any taxes in the U.S. depending on what you're doing. Generally, in these situations, the people are doing some kind of professional service or some kind of store or some kind of marketing service. Drop shipping is really just a marketing business. And with that, you don't have to pay any U.S. taxes. So the treaties don't really apply as much unless it's to outline what does make up permanent establishment. So the treaties can still be helpful, but they're really helpful in keeping you out of the U.S. tax system. And for countries like Latvia, from my understanding, you don't have to necessarily pay taxes on your LLC income unless you send it to Latvia. So many of my clients in those, in Eastern Europe and countries over there, I always doubt myself when I reference geography without looking at a map. But in Eastern Europe, they don't have to pay taxes on the LLC profits unless they bring it back to their home country. So how I've helped my clients with this is really just by reviewing their specific cases and confirming what I believe, and then we confer with a local tax advisor to see how you would be paying taxes there. So it can be a really good option to use the LLC, especially in countries where you don't have to pay tax if you don't bring it back, because then you could end up having tax-free income on a loophole, right? Question 2. And if you have any questions and you're here live on the meeting, feel free to comment and I'll get to those questions as well. But question 2 that I got here: if I'm a foreign LLC member and I have $10K in a non-US bank account, apart from the money I have in the LLC account, do I have to file FBAR to FinCEN, or FBAR only applies to US LLC owners? Thank you. So the foreign bank account report, that is the form 114 that's filed with FinCEN, is only required to be filed by U.S. residents and citizens. I did the research on this before, and technically an LLC that has a foreign bank account would be required to file a foreign bank account report. This can be done on the FinCEN website. I would say fincen.gov or something. I'm not really sure the website, but if you look up Google search FinCEN, you can see it's a real government website. You can file it on there. It's not an extremely complicated form. It's really just basic. There's no computations really. There's just information you're sharing. but technically you would have to file in this instance the FBAR if the LLC has a non-U.S. bank account. But if the member, the owner of the LLC, a regular foreign person, doesn't have to file an FBAR. The U.S. government is not requiring every single citizen in the world of other countries to disclose their bank account information to the U.S. government. That's outrageous. It's only for if it's a foreign account in the LLC name. For example, even if you have a WISE account with your LLC and you have foreign currency accounts within that, it's still not a foreign bank account because it's under WISE, which has U.S. licenses. So you wouldn't really have to do it in this situation if I'm reading it correctly. Question number 3. If I was importing goods from Mexico to California to sell to retail stores for tax purposes, where would you incorporate a company? I will eventually be warehousing product and open to warehousing in Texas. Most likely I'll use a third party to warehouse and pack orders. So do I incorporate in Florida or Texas? Well, it depends on what you want. The LLC is fine. It might be easier to use Texas in this situation. I would still probably use Wyoming. I just like the state better. It's more private. Texas and Florida aren't as private. You can look up the companies and the owners. If you don't have to disclose ownership, I'd rather not do it. I like to keep my privacy to myself. So you might have to register in California depending on your activity in California, but you're really not doing business in any of these states based on the information provided here. So you can incorporate it's not really incorporating, it's technically organizing. You can organize your LLC at any of those states. If you're going to be using, and this is something I touched on last week, but if you're going to be using Facebook ads to market your product, I know you're selling to retail stores, so that's not the case. But if you're using Facebook ads, I would not use New Mexico because they charge a 7% or an 8% tax on ads run from New Mexico addresses. It's a Mexico general sales tax. New Mexico. But that's really the answer there. You can work in any of the states, really. The LLC is just the legal entity. But if you're going to be doing business in a state, it's better to open the LLC in that state. And if you're here, comment, say something so I know that the chat works, because I see there are a couple of people here. We got some thumbs. I'll chat too. I'm not really sure how this works, but I already like it more than Zoom. Because it seems a little bit easier. Okay, so question 4. Because I want to make sure it says I'm live. Hi. Thanks, Jerome. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Okay, if you guys have any questions, I got you. Okay, so next question. We skipped from 3 to 5. I am a non-U.S. resident / citizen and already have an LLC for my own trading purposes. I have a non-U.S. resident citizen around me interested in forming a U.S. limited partnership with me for trading purposes as well. The general partner of the limited partnership would be my own LLC and receive carried interest from the trading fund. How will my U.S. LLC and the limited partners, all Canadian, be treated for tax in the U.S.? Okay. So this is the kicker here. I talked to a Canadian colleague of mine yesterday and went over a bunch of details, and we're going to be having a call on the channel to discuss different tax situations and examples and how he would structure it, and for me to learn more about Canadian taxes and all that. So the reason that we're talking about LPs right now is because Canadians, an LLC is taxed as a corporation in Canada. So if Canadians have LLCs, it's really confusing for tax purposes. Generally, it's not the worst if they're not going to be taking money out. But what happens is if they're subject to tax, this is a complicated situation where I would recommend that if you guys are really investing money and you're talking about carried interest, which is a U.S. tax concept that I don't know how it benefits you guys in your countries, but the carried interest concept, I guess the backtrack is when you have a fund and you are managing money of other investors, if you have an investment that you purchased and held for over 3 years, your percentage of management fees can come through as carried interest, so that they are then taxed at a long-term capital gains rate. I do have a client I'm working with closely where we're going over this stuff. But it's really a U.S. tax concept, from my understanding. It's something to help hedge fund managers pay less taxes because they lobby a lot and pay the government a lot, so they get their beneficial tax breaks. Great. So I'm not sure how carried interest benefits you. If it's This is a really specific situation, so I would recommend getting a U.S. tax advisor and a Canadian advisor on the phone at the same time to review with the partners what the goals and what the intents are, because it's quite complicated. Because I understand that you want a trading fund in the U.S. and you want to use U.S. brokerages and all of that, and you can use a limited partnership. It might be more clear, but potentially the LLC could be more beneficial depending on how it's operated. Like I said, if an LP would be passed through, and then in Canada they would pay tax on their gains. But if you use an LLC, then they generally, unless there's a trade or business in Canada, unless these other partners are materially working, um, yeah, because you're the general partner, so they're all going to be limited partners. So if it's an LP, they're going to pay tax every year on the profits. But if it's an LLC that you guys operate out of, potentially they only pay tax when they take the money out, and it would be as a dividend. So that's a really interesting question, and it's definitely two-layered for me to give a confident, like, do this answer, because has a lot of factors here. But I think my advice actually should give you some really good insights there. I just talked about this yesterday. So if you want to set up a call with them and with my Canadian guy, we can definitely get down to it. Hi, James. What would I have to change if I'm a foreign LLC single member and I move to the US? So that's a great question. If you are a foreign person, you have an LLC and you're operating tax-free, good for you. You decide, hey, I want to be a US citizen. I want to move to the US. That's great too. Good for you. And it's great here. Welcome, right? There are different things. Obviously, you're going to enter the US tax system. You're going to have to pay US taxes, and we can review your situation to see if we make an election to treat your LLC as an S corp, or if you keep operating it the same. I mean, the answer is you can keep operating the same way. You just have to start paying taxes on your US income as of the date you arrive in the US. And there's a lot of different tax nuances that we have to review and account for when doing your tax planning and paying your taxes in the US. But this is a detailed question where we can get into a lot of details. What is your business doing? What are your goals? What are some situations about you, so that I can give you some advice on ways to lower your taxes. But the simple answer, Marco, is that you can just keep using the LLC, fine, and then we can figure out the tax stuff later. Great question. We have another question from a live person in the call. My guy Omar says, do you know if I have to pay taxes in USA for wholesaling real estate from Mexico? I'm assuming that you're buying and selling land. And actually, there's different ways. Are you buying and selling land in the US, or are you buying and selling land contracts, like deals? Because that's something I've gotten that question before. If you are, because I know the wholesaling deals, you set up some kind of system to contact people who have houses that are in disrepair that they don't necessarily want. You get them on contract, and then you sell the contract to an actual person. Yeah, just assigning the contracts. I haven't researched this independently, but it really seems like you have no U.S. trade or business if you're just assigning contracts. You're just at home on your computer, clicking some buttons and changing some contracts around. The contracts are not physically located in the U.S. They're digital contracts. So I'm feeling pretty confident you wouldn't have to pay any U.S. income taxes. You still have to do all your compliance stuff. If you ever do close any deals and actually buy the land and then sell the property, if you buy and sell the actual property, then sure, you have to pay tax on the gains in the U.S. But if you are just selling the contracts, I don't think you would. One thing to consider is, depending on how much money you're making, if you're really crushing it, a lot of my Mexican clients like to use US C Corps, pay the 21% tax rate in the US, and then pay yourselves out $150K a year so you can stay under that 3% gross regime in the new Mexican tax regime. But that all depends on how much you're making and how you're doing it. and if you want to do it correctly. I mean, if you want to do it correctly, you should pay tax on everything in Mexico, on everything you make. I don't know if you necessarily are or not. I know probably half my clients do, half don't. But if you want to do it the right way and really minimize your taxes and you're making over 100K doing this, that's just something to consider. Another call to set that up, because they have a cool regime in Mexico. And again, I'm not a Mexican tax expert, but they have this I say regime, but they have this set of rules in Mexico where if you're making under 170,000 US dollars, again, this is hearsay, right? 170,000 US dollars, you get taxed on a 3% tax rate. And that's for entrepreneurs. So I don't think you're subject to US tax, but there's some other insights for you as well I hope are helpful. So thanks for the question, Omar. Appreciate you. And if you want, I got here super late today and I have to do it. I have to end the call early. If you have any Spanish questions, just throw them in there and I'll just jump around and just get to Spanish as well. I mean, I should probably set up a separate live on the Tu Empresa en America channel, because I do have a separate Spanish channel that I put only my Spanish videos up on. And, I should set up a live on there too. Okay. You got it. Okay. Next question. The Canadian one was good. That's a good question. I hope you follow up. And so we have good questions today. Q5. I am a Q6. I want to form a new LLC because in New Mexico, SaaS and digital products are taxable. So I'm getting taxed on Facebook ads at 7.75%. It's a lot. Yes, that's what I just mentioned in the last video. That's a big downfall for the New Mexico LLCs. And I'm going to make a separate video why you don't want a New Mexico LLC, because if you ever decide to run any advertising on Facebook or really on any platform, New Mexico has a general sales tax on digital products. So you're going to get hit 7.75%. I said 7 or 8%. So 7.75% on your gross. So yeah, that's rough, bro. So I would say, yes, form another LLC. I always recommend Wyoming. I like it better. I like Wyoming better. It's cheaper, it's faster. The state support is really pretty good. Delaware is overwhelmed and everyone uses it. And it's a little more expensive. So otherwise, Wyoming and Delaware are both anonymous and they're both no tax. So they're both great. So yeah, I would open a separate one. Another thing you can try is using a different address. It's potentially you can keep using the same LLC, but change your address and don't use a New Mexico address, because that's the only way they know you're from New Mexico is because of your address. So that's a little cheat, a little pro tip there for you. I think it'll work. I had a client that did this, and Danny, if you're here, remind me to follow up with that client, because they were doing this and I told them what to do. I want to see if they actually did it. And I'm also going to try and get a refund for them, try and tell them that they had the wrong address and get the taxes refunded. I don't think I'll be able to, but I'm going to try. And the follow-up question here for Q6, should I form a different LLC, or should I do a combo of a New Mexico LLC owning a Florida LLC? Does this complicate things? I am a non-resident. So yeah, it complicates. You don't need to have layers of LLCs. People do this sometimes, and honestly, it confuses me a little bit. If it doesn't seem to be all really necessary, and it's it just doesn't seem to be necessary. Just open a new LLC in your name and use that. Should be fine. I don't really, generally Florida LLCs are public and I don't like them as much. I do open them and have them, but it's not like my favorite. Okay, so we got a question from the chat I want to jump into. Hi, James. I live in a foreign country and I formed an LLC in 2018. I'm hoping to get an ITIN and file a tax return with the application, but the business has no income. How can I do this? Yeah, so I mean, the LLC has nothing to do with your ITIN. You need to. So how do I get an ITIN myself is I guess the question from my guy Jerome. So Jerome, you get an ITIN by filing a 1040 NR and attaching a W-7 that's completed with a certified copy of your passport. It's not that many pages, but it's quite tricky. The W-7 is a really annoying form because the IRS will take 5 or 6 months to review it. And then even me, who does ITIN applications professionally, I send out hundreds of them. I still get them rejected. I fill them out the same methodology, but they still reject them. So you need to make sure you use a foreign address. I have a video specifically about completing the W-7, I believe. So you can check that video. That's the one thing, there's a lot of cheap options for getting LLCs and getting ITINs, and you're doing research, and you're trying to get the solutions here. I'm not sure why you need the ITIN immediately. I don't want you to think that should be slowing you down. But yeah, that's how you do it. I don't know if you have a follow-up question or more details to that question, but I appreciate you being here and the first comment. I'm going to jump 2 more of these so I can get through these. Q7, number 7, the LLC sold the property in 2021 and financed the loan to the new owner. Where do I have to report the interest income or the 8825 directly on the 1065? Seems like I'm missing a little bit here. The LLC, let's see, form 8825 is the okay. The LLC sold the property. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any details here. If you, so I'm gonna, where do I report the interest income? The LLC sold the property in 2021 and financed the loan to the new owner. Oh, okay. So in this example, in this question, someone has an LLC with a property, and it's a multi-member LLC. They're doing form 1065, and they report their rental income and expense on the sub form 8825. Fine. Where do they report the interest income? On the 8825 or on the 1065? I would report it on the 1065. It's not really related to now that you sold the property, you don't have an 8825 anymore. You just have basically interest income. So it's so you're good. I don't really have much more to comment on this. If you're financing something, you have interest income, it doesn't go on the 8825, it goes directly on your 1065. Let's go back to my live here. Message retracted. Okay. Question 8. I am an international student on an M1 visa. Ooh, M1. I need to open a bank account. They ask for an SSN or an ITIN. I have neither of these. Am I allowed to apply for one? Hello, my friend. If you are in the US, all you need to open a bank account is a passport and a permanent address. You need to have an address in the US or proof of address. I would recommend you go to a different bank. Some banks aren't helpful. Some banks are helpful. Sometimes you can go, and I talk to my clients all the time. If you come to Miami, even a very international city, even New York, and New York's worse. But if you, thanks for posting that. If you come to Miami, then you go to 4 Bank of Americas, 2 are going to open an account for you, 2 are not. So you need to have your passport, and you don't even need to show your visa, and you need to have your proof of address there. So whether if you're staying on campus or if you're staying in an apartment, you need some kind of proof of address and your passport, a US phone number, and those are the real most important things. So just go to another bank. That's my answer for you, and I hope your studies go well. And this isn't really a business account. You can still open an LLC and use that, and it's still a tricky situation. But yeah, you should open some bank accounts while you're here, because you'll have them forever. And you should also, if you're here on a student visa, figure out how to get on OPT so you can get a social security number. It's just a thing to have forever, and it's really beneficial to get one. So try and get on OPT, try and get a job. I don't know how that works with the M1 visa. I'm not an immigration guy, but that's kind of how that works. Question 9, in most of the foreign-owned LLC, there are registered agents in the USA, which I think is compulsory for opening the LLC in the US. Can LLC having registered agent also be exempt from tax if they don't have ECI? Effectively connected income is ECI. So the question is, every LLC needs a registered agent, and that's for legal proceedings. If your LLC gets sued, there needs to be official address in the state of record. So if you have an address in the state, for example, when I open a Florida LLC, I don't pay a registered agent. I use my office address. When I open a Wyoming LLC, I have to pay a registered agent. I don't have an address in Wyoming. So that's just a legal requirement by the state. That does not mean you have a trader business in the U.S. Every LLC has a registered agent. It's completely, and these registered agents you're paying have hundreds of thousands, well, maybe not hundreds, but they have thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of clients who they're doing their registered agent service for. So it's it doesn't mean you have UCI. It doesn't mean you have to pay U.S. taxes. It's a fair question. You do need to have a registered agent. You need to have some agent in the state. But yeah, you still don't have to pay taxes. And the effectively connected income concept that you highlighted there is really great, because you only pay tax on effectively connected income of a U.S. trader business. So you can have ECI, you can sell only to Americans, but have no U.S. trader business, and you still don't have to pay tax. So the ECI on its own it's really confusing, to be fair. That's a good question. Q10, I'm from UAE. I have an LLC in Wyoming. I do stuff on FTX and Binance, and I opened through my LLC. Do I need to file forms? Just like everyone else, you have to file your 5472 to report your related party transactions. You have to file your renewals, and you have to, I mean, that's really it. It's not that bad, right? That's why you have the LLC. Yeah, FTX is much easier to open accounts for than Binance US. I mean, I don't know how you open the account at Binance. I have like 4 accounts at FTX, and one at Binance has been months and months of emails. So I don't know how you did it, but looks good. Yeah, you don't have to file anything else, just the annual tax filings and the renewal with the state, and anything else that comes up. Right now, there's nothing else. The Corporate Transparency Act is something that I've been hyping up, and that they just never followed through on. And I guess maybe in like sometime in the next 3 years, they'll make it a real thing. I'm not complaining. It's extra work that I probably wouldn't be able to charge for, or I wouldn't. It's extra stuff and more disclosures, and I'm not complaining. But my audio is not working. I got a comment that my audio is not working. Anyone else in there listening? Is my audio working? I'm going to do something real quick while I'm here. I'm going to join. Hello? Yeah, my audio is working. Okay, I think your audio is not working because I just joined. Okay. For NRL, use Binance Global. Okay, thanks, Juan and Ahmad. So I guess to follow up on that question, Ahmad's following up and saying if I use Binance Global, whatever, or non-US exchanges, affiliate links, that income is FDAP, but I am liable. That's a statement or a question. Affiliate links. Okay, Danny, my bad. I'm double voiced now. That should be fixed, though. I should be out now. I should be out of the other one. So a commission isn't a royalty. So you shouldn't be liable for withholdings on commissions. Okay, good. You shouldn't be liable for withholdings on commissions, only on royalties. So that's something that you are, you shouldn't be liable for that. We got a quick one from Nane. The I-10, man, the I-10 is killing me right now. The I-10, we're waiting. It used to be I used to tell clients 3 to 6 months. Now we're in 5 months for some clients, 6 months for some clients. It's a mess. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going through these questions because I actually have another call at. Oh no, I don't. I have a half an hour still. Sweet. So I'm gonna get through these, and I'm gonna do some in Spanish. I might actually jump to the Spanish channel when we get there, Danny. Let me get to this because I think this YouTube Live is amazing. This is way better. Okay, that's it. Actually, that was the last English question. Do we have any more English questions here? Otherwise, I'm going to drop off this one and then do a live on my Tu Empresa en America channel. And I would love to see you guys there. If you share the link, Danny, we can get everyone on that one too. It's just to have a Spanish channel, so I might as well go, if I'm going to go live on that channel. Otherwise, I really appreciate you guys all being here and asking your questions. And if anything comes up that you missed or that you want more clarity on, I'll be here next week, the Thursday AMA. Here we go. My guy Green Innovation says, can I make a C Corp as a holding company under the name of a foreign family member and then sell asset to it for asset protection? More. I need more. Okay. Ahmad, for TikTok live gifts of monetary value, are there taxes for non-US LLC? I mean, no, it's not. There's no US trader business there at all. I don't, unless they withhold taxes. I don't know how TikTok runs it because it's not the same between different companies. I should run on TikTok. Will you guys follow me if I do TikTok again? I did it for 3 weeks and it went well, and then I got busy and it's too crazy. I'll try and make some money. You want to give me money on TikTok, and then we'll see. I'll let you know. That's funny. Good question, Nane. You file the tax form without a tax number, and then they assign it with the filing. That's why you need the W-7 with the tax form, because you have no number. So you file it without the number. Well, I mean, the TikTok got bought by Microsoft, so it's under a U.S. Entity altogether. I mean, that happened last year, right? Microsoft bought TikTok, didn't they? So I just don't think it's royalty income. Like if you get paid by Apple for App Store stuff and you have the foreign company set up, they will withhold taxes, but this isn't the same thing. If you sell books on Amazon, they withhold taxes, but again, it's not. It's just someone giving you money, so I don't think it would be subject to taxes. So Green Innovations, you got more for me there on this question because I'd love to answer it. So we're talking asset protection in this question. Can I make a C Corp as a holding company under the name of a foreign family member and sell assets to it for asset protections? So if you are a U.S. citizen, which it sounds like that's what the context is providing. If a U.S. citizen, if I'm a citizen and I have a family member who's like a cousin, it depends what type of family member it is, and you sell assets to a related party, it has to be at fair market value. So if you sell assets to a brother, cool. So it's a related party. So if I sell assets to my brother who lives in Panama, and he's my brother, and I sell him assets, the IRS dictates that it needs to be a fair market value transaction. And then you would have to realize gain on any of those transactions, unless you want to consider it a gift to your brother, which you can certainly do, which would go against your lifetime exclusion. You have an $11 million lifetime exclusion. So that might be a better way to structure it. You could also set up, foreign trusts. You can it depends. There's a lot of ways to keep it in your own control and have good asset protection. Putting it in someone else's name protects the asset, but it's it's not yours anymore. Technically, something could happen. Like what happens if your brother disappears? Then it's a mess. So I'd prefer to keep it in some kind of entity or asset that you can control still and mitigate it. Yeah, I understand you trust him, but I'm just saying that it might not be necessary and it might be more complicated to have a foreign entity. I don't know what the assets you're talking about are. If it's real estate, if it's digital assets, if it's a business asset that you're going to make money on in the future, then yeah, that might make sense. If you have a website or you have an online store or you have some kind of trademark or something that you make money from and you want to sell it to him or gift it to him or do that the right way, and then he makes the money tax free, then yeah, that's a good idea. But if it's like real estate or something that you just want to keep safe, jewelry, I don't know, art, I don't know, whatever, you don't necessarily have to do it that way. But that sounds like it's potentially it could work. But again, you can't own any part of it if he's your brother. Real estate and vehicles that you rent for your business. Yeah, I mean, you're overcomplicating it. I'm telling you, it's to have real estate and vehicles owned by foreign people. He's going to have to pay taxes on his profits. He's going to have to run it the right way. The IRS is really geared up right now. They're going to be auditing more people. And the more you complicate a U.S. based business with a foreign ownership and stuff like this, and the more you try and you have to really be on top of your accounting, on your filing, and all your documentation, your preparation. Because if you get audited, they're just going to disallow everything and make it the most taxable for you. So Um, if you have a business and you have different vehicles and different real estates, open a different LLC for each vehicle you get. Open a different LLC for each real estate. Open different LLCs for everything. It'll keep them all separate, and you can have your operating business in its own separate thing and keep most of the cash out of it. That way, if anyone sues your operating business, they can't get to any of the assets that you have because they're all in separate companies. But it's a complicated question to set up. So Jerome has a follow-up. He's a Belizean guy. I'll be out in Belize at a Remax conference October 7th to the 13th. So I'll be in Ambergis K. But you don't need an ITIN for Stripe. You don't need an ITIN for bank accounts. You only need an ITIN for a PayPal account. And don't let this all stop you. And it's going to take you forever. Don't wait 7 months to get started. Get started now. The W-7. Yeah, it's complicated, dude. And you have to get a certified passport. You have to go to the embassy and get them to stamp it, put it on a full piece of paper. Don't mail your passport to the IRS. It's complicated, man. I would say get Stripe and bank set up, make some money. If you still want the ITIN, pay someone to do it. And and then just get started. Don't wait too long. When creating another question here. When creating a US PayPal account, what addresses do I use? What do I fill out? So what you want to do is you want to generally it'd be better to put a US address for a US PayPal account. It's generally going to be better to do that. And you apply with the EIN of your LLC. And what happens is PayPal eventually will ask you to verify the ID of the owner of the company. And that's when they're going to ask for the SSN or the ITIN letter. And it's still not an automatic thing. You drop the ITIN letter and they approve you. Sometimes you have to follow up. Sometimes they'll push them a little bit, but that's generally where you give them the ITIN. We're talking about a business account. YouTube. Okay, so Ahmad, great question. Then we have two here. You're welcome. Thanks for liking, subscribing, being on the video, Jerome. So I'm going to answer some questions from Ahmad here. These are good questions. And I'm going to format it in like a general opening thing. So when getting paid by YouTube, by TikTok, by Google, by Facebook, by Amazon, when do they apply the withholding? So for YouTube, they will apply 30% withholding standard rate to any ad revenue generated by US viewers. So if you have an Indian account and only India, I'm not saying you're Indian, but if you have an account in India, like I have a client I talk to, and he has all Indian viewers and he gets ad revenue from there, it's way less, but per person and everything. But that's not subject to withholding because it's not US source. Obviously YouTube knows where everyone's watching from. They know everything. So they're only withholding that 30% on your money generated from US viewers. And yes, there's ways around that. And that's really to open different types of entities and different structures. So TikTok, if you get gifts from TikTok Live, it's less of a transaction. It's not necessarily a royalty, and I'm not sure how they do it. I just haven't had clients in that case, and you don't really make a business out of getting gifts from people. I mean, I don't think it's like scalable. You can sell stuff or you can offer services, but just for getting gifts, unless you are you have some really good videos, it's they're not going to withhold. If you do Google AdSense, I think they're going to withhold on US source clicks. Let's see, Instagram doesn't really have a monetization thing like that. What's another one? But yeah, the YouTube definitely withholds. Amazon will withhold only on book sales. It won't withhold on anything else, anything royalty based. And they consider, it makes sense. You post your content on YouTube and they they spread it out there and you get a royalty. They kind of own your content and they're paying you a royalty for the money they're generating on the ads. So it makes sense. Yeah, Facebook has rewards for content creators. So yeah, I know Facebook definitely pays people, and Facebook withholds taxes too based on your US viewership. I'm almost certain. Most of my clients that make a lot of money with Facebook, and I have some clients that do better on Facebook than YouTube, they set up multi-member LLCs or different structures so that they can kind of avoid the withholding. And actually, Facebook, I'm not sure if they actually do withhold taxes on this. I don't think they do. I think there was a big inconsistency with that, which is really interesting. None, you have to try, man. PayPal changes their stuff all the time. I don't know. You have to just try. Go for it. Open it up. I would. They might ask for verification that you live there. You might have to create a sublease or create some kind of document or some kind of agreement. If you can use a foreign address, they're going to say, "Why don't you open a Belize PayPal account?" That's what they're going to say. PayPal's really tricky for a company whose stock is dropping. They're really making it difficult to work. But the thing is, I've talked about this before. They make a lot of money on the currency conversions. Okay, guys, I gotta go to my Spanish meetings, which is basically answering some more questions, but in Spanish. So if you want to join me there, Danny's gonna share the link with to my Tu Empresa en America channel. You can find it, especially if we have anyone here. What do we got? We have we had a Juan Vargas who might speak Spanish with me. Maybe Jerome. He's close to Mexico. He's in Belize. Maybe Marco. So okay, Tony says PayPal is asking for proof of residence. Yeah. The thing, Tony, what's really interesting, it's great to see you, buddy, is that PayPal asks for different stuff. I've opened, hundreds of PayPal accounts and they ask for different stuff all the time. No, Ahmad, I'm not going live tomorrow. I'm going to go live again next week, and I'm going to go live in like 5 minutes in Spanish, though, on my Spanish channel, because I was late for today. Appreciate you guys showing up, but I'm going to be on here. I have to talk to my Spanish peoples. Okay, but I appreciate you being here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Okay, thank you so much. I don't know what to do now. Get you out of here. End stream.